How would you even know it if you have unconscious limiting beliefs? Sounds like a problem. If you're not familiar with my videos, I do train a lot of people. I train students in NLP. I also train coaches, and I've also coached a lot of people. And through the years of doing that, I keep coming across a lot of the same limiting beliefs that people have. And they're the same limiting beliefs that I had struggled with for the greater portion of my life, and that I've had to work through, and I've gotten really good at that. And I've created good systems for understanding, for eliciting these limiting beliefs, and for transforming them into empowering beliefs, both in myself and with my clients and the students who I teach. And that's what I'm going to go into in this video. I'm going to talk about what these limiting beliefs are, how can we even know that they're there, and then what can we do about them. Now, before I get into this, if you find yourself liking this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified when I put new videos out. I put a lot into these videos. I really enjoy sharing this stuff, but it does take work. And when you show me your appreciation by liking this video, by subscribing to my channel, it just means a lot to me. So thank you for doing that. The first limiting belief is kind of a fill in the blank kind of sentence, and it also deals with time. So it's one of those sentences that starts out like, when blank happens, then I will blank. So we do this a lot. We often make an excuse as to why we're not doing something yet. So when this one thing happens, then I can go and do that thing. When my wife lets me, then I can go and start training to run a marathon. Something like that. We often like to blame our spouses, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, our kids. I hear people say that a lot too. Well, when my kids are grown up, then I'll go travel. And I just hear that and I go, no, you can travel right now. Even if it's a short trip. If you really want to travel, you can do that. So it's anytime you're taking a time element and then something that's out of your control. I can't make my kids grow up faster. This is a process. If I leave it up to someone else, like my wife, then it's out of my control, because it's when my wife says it's okay, right? So we do this a lot. We'll say, well, when this thing happens, then we'll do this. When I have more energy, then I'll go do this. When I have more money, I'll go, do this other thing. When I win the lottery, I'll go and do whatever. That is a limiting belief. A lot of people don't even realize it's a limiting belief, because they really have convinced themselves that what they want is really dependent on something else happening that is out of their control, or someone else thinking or doing something. And we don't control what other people think, and we do not control what they do. So you are taking this out of your own hands. And this is a very limiting belief. It's a crippling limiting belief. Anytime we take the control outside of ourselves for something that we want, and we hand it over to something else, and we say, well, when that thing does whatever I want that thing to do, even though I have no control over it, then I will allow myself to go and pursue what it is that I want. So you really have to catch yourself saying this. Anytime you're using time, the word when blank happens, then know that, stop yourself right there and go, oh, okay, am I doing that thing that Damon says? Am I using a time element there? And so usually it's preceded by a word like that, like when this happens or when that happens. And what are you doing? Like, are the things that you want, do you feel like they're dependent on things that are out of your control? You need to take inventory of that. Think about, if you were write out on a page, like everything that you want, and then ask yourself, what stops you? This is a lot of times how we tease out these limiting beliefs. Well, what stops me is, my wife. What stops me is my kids. What stops me is lack of money. And so now it's time to go, oh, okay, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm shifting this outside of myself. I'm shifting the control over to something else. What happens when I take that control back? And I say, okay, even though I don't have the money, even though my kids aren't grown up yet, even though my wife says I can't, I'm going to blank. Or I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm going to find out how to work around it. So you can, just by replacing the words, make yourself more resourceful. And then you might have to work at this for a little bit and say, okay, well, what is it I'm really after? What is it that I want to do? And if I took back the control over this, what would be different? If I said, okay, now, no, it's up to me. It's my responsibility to make this happen, to fulfill whatever it is I'm trying to fulfill here. And it has to be within my control. It has to be up to me. how does that happen? And even if you have to do it using the as if frame, we often use that, what would it be like as if you could, or as if you already knew how to do this, or as if you already had the resources, what then would you do? Use your imagination to get on the other side of this limitation and start thinking in terms of being on the other side of this limitation. And then the solutions will start to come, and then you can start taking some action on this. The second limiting belief, this one I hear so much in personal development and self-help. I come across it a lot. And sometimes I come across it even when the person doesn't come right out and say it, but I can tell what's happening for them. And that is this belief that I can't get what I want, I can't be happy, I can't be fulfilled until I resolve and heal all of my childhood traumas. That's just not true. We all have, big traumas or small traumas. Hopefully, most of us don't have too big of a trauma. Some people have some like major traumas, but most of us have really kind of minor childhood traumas. I don't know anyone who got through childhood and adolescence without having some little traumas, at least some little traumas. So, but even the big ones, if you in your mind are thinking, I can't do what I want to do, I can't have what I want to have, I can't be fulfilled until I resolve this thing, or that somehow this childhood trauma holds the key to my happiness. Sometimes there is absolutely something that needs to be resolved in the past. That can happen, so I'm not throwing that out. I did a video on re-imprinting. I did a demonstration on re-imprinting, and re-imprinting is that. It's using a limiting belief and going back in time and finding out what caused it, and then basically recoding it with resources. That's a transformational process. It's very, very powerful. But if you're presupposing and you're walking through life every single day through the lens of this limitation, that because you've had childhood traumas, you're limited somehow, or you're incomplete somehow, that's just going to cripple you. It's more that mindset, more than any childhood trauma that you've had, that will cripple you. But if you think to yourself, and some of you have had big stuff happen, and I'm not minimizing that at all. I know some people have had like major stuff happen in their childhood, and so I'm not saying that, blow that off and, toughen up or any of those things. Not at all. Some of us need to go into therapy. Some of us need some coaching. Some of us need to resolve these issues, but that doesn't mean that you can't live a rewarding, happy, fulfilling life. That doesn't mean you can't start going out there and doing things. So this idea that you have to wait until you heal all these things before you can go out there and do things, no. One of the ways that you can actually speed this process up of healing traumas is by going out there and doing things. And when you feel the limitation come in, you go, okay, here's an opportunity to resolve it, because now I have a sense of what it is and where it's at. I had thought about that when I started learning how to transform limiting beliefs. When I started learning NLP, I thought, well, I'm just going to go and pull out every limiting belief that I have and just start transforming everything. That was not okay. It was a huge waste of time. I know a lot of people who do that, and it doesn't work that way. Start doing what you want to do. Start pushing those boundaries already by getting out there and taking action. Believe me, the limitations will come up. You will feel it. And that's the time to deal with them, because they're starting to surface. And so now you can be much more clear about what it is. And then you can begin that transformation process. It's being somewhere in the shadows and in the dark, and you never know what it is. And you just kind of go poking at it and trying to find it. No. Go after what it is that you want. And these limitations, if they exist, will come up. And when that happens, go about transforming it and keep moving toward what it is that you want. And just drop this whole idea, drop this frame, this belief that you need to go and heal those things first. You heal those things as you go. You heal as you journey. And the third I've saved for last, because it's probably the most common. Probably most of our limiting beliefs branch out from this one big limiting belief, and that is either I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. This was one that I dealt with for years, and the reason why it took me a while to really resolve this, and the reason why it takes a lot of people a long time to resolve it, is because it's massive. It's huge. It's something you got to chip away at sometimes for years, but it's absolutely worth it. So anytime you're working towards something, or anytime you don't take action, and if you get honest with yourself and you say, okay, what's stopping me? And you hear an inner voice say something like that, like, well, you're not good enough, you don't deserve it, you're not enough, you know that here's an opportunity once again to start to get to work on this. When you feel like there is no such thing as good enough or not enough or enough, the idea is not to make you feel like you are enough. The idea is not to make you feel like you're superior or powerful. You're still stuck in the duality of good enough or not good enough. You want to get out of the duality. You want to get out of this idea that there even is such a thing. And how you're going to do that is by taking your values, and building those in as qualities of who you are, by transforming into the person who you value, so that you don't even question this stuff. And so what do I mean by that? So when you take a goal, and I've done many videos on this, when you take a goal and you elicit the values of that goal, right away you've just shined the light on a dark path. You now know what is really driving you, what's really motivating you. So things like peace, joy, happiness, love, compassion, creativity. These are some of the wonderful values that will come out from eliciting your values from goals that you want. And then once you know what those values are, now a lot of NLP practitioners will say, well, I'll just anchor those values in, right? I'll just remember a time when I experienced that, and I'll hit my fist like Tony Robbins does, or like that, or hit my chest or whatever, and then I'll just automatically feel it. And yeah, you probably will, and then it'll go away really fast. So the idea here that I'm saying is that you take these values and you transform them into certain and solid qualities of who you are, generalizations about who you are. And the same word you can use for all of this is beliefs. A generalization, a quality, these are all beliefs about who you are. And so how do you do that? Well, the self-concept model is the way to do that. Steve Andreas' self-concept model. It's a much bigger discussion than what I have time for in a YouTube video, because this is my life's work, actually. The self-concept model is what I pour everything into. It's the basis for all of the coaching that I do one-on-one with people. It's the training that I do when I'm training students, either people who want to be able to transform themselves at will, or their coaches who want to be able to coach their clients. It's the self-concept model. So it's one of those things that you can take a lifetime to learn it, to practice it, to put it into practice in your life every single day. And anytime you come across that feeling of I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy, right then and there that there is a value that you want, that you perceive that you don't possess within you. And I'm telling you right now, you possess it. If you can project it, you possess it. If you can project that value onto something, or to being it, to having it, it must exist inside of you already. And so you just go in there and you make the necessary changes, you rewire that inside of you, and you become that. And this can happen in one session. That's how powerful this is. So anytime you have those feelings, just know that it's not true. There's no way to judge your worth. There's no way to judge if you're good enough or even bad enough of a person. There is no objective measurement of your value or of anyone's value. So anytime that comes up, just know that it's not true. That's the first place to start. I know it feels true, but know that it's not true, and relax into that and say, okay, well, I'm just thinking this way because this is a generalization I've made about myself. And what would it be like if this wasn't true? What would it be like if there was no self-worth at all? Not low self-worth, not high self-worth, just no self-worth, because there isn't. And I've had people who I've been coaching, and they're like, well, no, there is. And I say, okay, well, prove it to me. Show me. How do you measure this thing? Who measures this thing? Well, what I do. Okay, what are you comparing it to? Well, to this other person. Well, that's because you're comparing yourself to someone else. That's irrelevant. Comparing yourself to other people will only make you feel bad. And sometimes you'll use it to make yourself feel good, to make yourself feel superior to someone else. That's not helping you. That's limiting you. So that's another thing. Oftentimes, when we feel like we're not good enough, or not worthy, or not deserving, it's usually because we're comparing ourselves to other people. That's just never going to help you with anything. So if you catch yourself comparing yourself to other people, that's probably what's triggering that feeling. Stop. It does you no good to compare yourself to other people. It's a habit that most of us have. Like I said, we use it to make ourselves feel better than certain people. But if you play that game that way, you can't not play the game the other way, meaning encountering people that you judge to be better than you. And then when you do that, when you compare yourself to those people, you will feel bad. You will feel limited. You will feel unworthy. And it's just no reason to do that. So if you catch yourself doing that, just stop. break the habit. Now, as always, I give away something for free in my videos. If you check the description box right here down below, you will see a link to a free assessment. And what that free assessment is, it's getting you started on focusing on what it is that is meaningful in your life, the area of your life, the area of yourself, your identity, in which you would like to start working on. So it's the beginning. So if you liked what I was talking about here in this video, and you're ready to start moving in that direction and start unlocking your true potential by dissolving these limiting beliefs, this assessment is a great place to start. Now, if you're a little more eager than that and you're ready to really start this conversation, I will leave a link also down here below, and you can do one or two things. If you're not interested in learning NLP, but you want to benefit from it, I do one-on-one coaching. If you want to get in and book something soon, because my schedule is starting to fill up. But if you don't care to learn NLP, but you want those benefits, like I said, I do one-on-one coaching, and my specialty is identity level coaching, so transforming at the identity level. So that's where I work on these things. Now, if you want to learn this, I have a team of coaches who I'm teaching and training, and I've also certified some of them. And we all work with groups of people in group coaching where you learn this model and you experience the transformation of this model all at the same time. It is one of the best things you can do for yourself, is learning this model and being able to implement it. Your potential is infinitely deep. Your fulfillment is infinitely deep when you start on this journey, you start on this path. So I'd love for you to join us in my group training, where you will learn the self-concept model so you can create your own transformations. So check out that link right down here, and let's get that conversation started. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified when I put new videos out. And last but not least, if you can think of a friend or a family member who would benefit from watching this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.